Standing in my corner office overlooking Seattle's skyline, I never imagined I would be here 3 years ago. Back then, I was planning my wedding, trusting my family, believing in love. But my sister Jessica had other plans. She stole my fiancé, Marcus, with my parents' full support, destroying my engagement and my faith in family. Last week, they called me begging for money. Marcus lost his job. Jessica is pregnant with their third child, and they are drowning in debt. But they have no idea what I went through to get here. Before I tell you how I went from the family scapegoat to the success they now desperately need, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you have ever felt betrayed by family, and subscribe because this story has a twist that will make you believe in justice again. Now let me take you back to when I thought I had the perfect life. At 26, I was living what I thought was my dream life in Portland. I worked as a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized company downtown, had a cozy apartment in the Pearl District, and most importantly, I had Marcus Thompson. Marcus was 28, a brilliant software engineer with kind eyes and a laugh that could light up any room. We had been together for 2 years, meeting at a coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday morning when we both reached for the last blueberry muffin. Our relationship was built on shared adventures. We spent weekends hiking the Columbia River Gorge, playing board games with friends, and dreaming about our future together. Marcus understood my workaholic tendencies and supported my ambitions while I encouraged his passion for developing apps that could help people. We were a team in every sense of the word. My family lived in the suburbs about an hour away. My father, David, was a mechanic who owned a small auto shop, and my mother, Linda, worked part-time as a nurse while managing the household. Then there was Jessica, my 24-year-old sister, who had been living at home since dropping out of college 2 years earlier. Jessica was beautiful in that effortless way some people are blessed with, but she had never found her direction in life. She drifted from job to job, relationship to relationship, always needing rescuing. Growing up, I learned early that Jessica was the one who needed protection. When she failed classes, our parents hired tutors. When she crashed her car, they bought her a new one. When boyfriends broke her heart, family dinners became therapy sessions, focused entirely on healing her wounded spirit. I became the responsible one, the achiever, the daughter who never caused problems, because Jessica caused enough for both of us. The proposal happened at Crater Lake in August during a weekend camping trip that had become our annual tradition. Marcus had planned everything perfectly, hiding the ring in his hiking backpack and waiting until we reached the rim at sunrise. The diamond was simple but meaningful, chosen because he remembered me mentioning how I preferred classic elegance over flashy displays. When he dropped to one knee with the lake sparkling behind him, I cried tears of pure joy. Planning the wedding became my favorite evening activity. We set the date for June, choosing the botanical garden, where we had our first official date. I spent hours researching flowers, tasting cakes, and designing invitations. Marcus was surprisingly involved for a guy offering opinions on everything from color schemes to music selections. We kept the guest list small, wanting an intimate celebration with the people who mattered most. Jessica seemed genuinely excited about my engagement at first. She volunteered to help with planning, complimented Marcus, constantly calling him handsome and successful whenever she visited. I was thrilled that my sister finally seemed happy for me, especially since our relationship had been strained during her recent string of failed relationships and job disappointments. But looking back, I can see the signs I missed. During our family dinner in September, Jessica dressed differently than usual. Instead of her typical jeans and oversized sweaters, she wore a fitted dress that showed off her figure. She positioned herself strategically across from Marcus at the dinner table, laughing loudly at his stories and asking detailed questions about his work projects. The comments started subtly. Jessica would mention how hard I worked, how I was always stressed about deadlines, how Marcus probably needed someone more relaxed and attentive. She would say these things with a concerned sister tone, as if she worried about my relationship rather than actively undermining it. When I brought up these comments to Marcus during our drive home, he dismissed my concerns. "She is just being friendly," he said, keeping his eyes on the road. "You are reading too much into normal conversation. Jessica is family now, and she wants us all to get along." October brought a new development. Jessica suddenly discovered an interest in technology, asking Marcus detailed questions about programming languages and app development during family gatherings. She would monopolize conversations about his latest project, nodding enthusiastically, and asking follow-up questions that showed she had been researching the topics between visits. Then Jessica announced she wanted to help with our wedding in a bigger way. She had decided to become our photographer to save us money, she explained. Photography was her new passion, and she was taking online courses to improve her skills. My parents were thrilled, praising Jessica for finally finding direction and pressuring me to include her more in the wedding preparations. I felt uncomfortable about the arrangement, but could not articulate why without sounding selfish. After all, Jessica was offering to provide a valuable service for free, and my parents were right that she needed encouragement to pursue her interests. When I hesitated, my mother made it clear that refusing Jessica's help would be seen as cruel and unsupportive. The photography arrangement gave Jessica legitimate reasons to spend time with Marcus. She needed to understand his preferences for wedding shots, she explained. She arranged private meetings to discuss camera equipment and lighting techniques. I would come home from work to find them huddled over his laptop looking at sample wedding photos and discussing technical details I did not understand. November brought escalations I could no longer ignore. Jessica started showing up at the gym where Marcus worked out, claiming she needed motivation to get in shape. She would post photos of herself on social media with captions about her fitness journey, tagging Marcus and thanking him for inspiring her to be healthier. The photos showed off her toned body in athletic wear, and the comments from friends praised her dedication and transformation. Coincidental encounters became a regular occurrence. Jessica would bump into Marcus at the grocery store we usually shopped at together, at the coffee shop where he sometimes worked remotely, and at restaurants we had mentioned visiting. Each time she would text me afterward, laughing about the funny coincidences and mentioning how nice it was to chat with my wonderful fiancé. When I confronted Jessica directly about these encounters, she acted hurt and confused. We were going to be family, she reminded me, and she just wanted all of us to be close. She had been lonely since her last breakup, and Marcus was like the big brother she never had. Was I really going to make her feel guilty for trying to build relationships with the people I loved? I brought my concerns to our parents during a Sunday dinner, expecting them to understand my discomfort. Instead, they dismissed my worries completely. Jessica would never do anything to hurt me, they insisted. I was being paranoid because of pre-wedding stress, reading malicious intent into innocent family bonding. Jessica has been through enough heartbreak, my father said, his tone suggesting I was being cruel, for even suggesting she had ulterior motives. Do not project your insecurities onto your sister when she is finally doing well. My mother agreed wholeheartedly. Marcus chose you, she pointed out. Why are you so threatened by Jessica wanting to be part of our family? You should be grateful she cares enough about your happiness to get involved. Their response left me feeling isolated and questioning my own judgment. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe the stress of wedding planning was making me see problems that did not exist. Maybe I was the one causing unnecessary drama in what should be a happy time for everyone. The situation reached a breaking point during our December visit to the wedding venue. Jessica came along to take preliminary photos and familiarize herself with the lighting conditions. Throughout the tour, she acted more like the bride than I did, suggesting layout changes, discussing decoration possibilities, and positioning herself prominently in every conversation with the venue coordinator. I watched in growing discomfort as Jessica stood where I would stand during the ceremony, discussing optimal camera angles with Marcus, while the coordinator took notes. She seemed to know exactly what she wanted, speaking with confidence about details I had not even considered yet. When the coordinator mistook Jessica for the bride and began directing questions to her instead of me, Marcus laughed it off as a harmless mistake. But I did not find it harmless. I found it devastating. Standing there watching my sister take center stage at my own wedding venue, seeing Marcus treat the situation like a joke, while I felt my heart breaking, I realized something fundamental had shifted in the dynamics between all of us. Christmas Eve brought the final straw. Jessica arrived at our family dinner wearing a red dress remarkably similar to the one I had worn in our engagement photos, the ones displayed prominently on my parents' mantelpiece. During gift exchange, she presented Marcus with an expensive cologne, explaining that she had noticed he was running out of his usual scent and wanted to make sure he had something special for the wedding. Our parents praised Jessica's thoughtfulness and attention to detail, while barely acknowledging the gifts Marcus and I had carefully chosen for everyone. The imbalance was glaring, but when I tried to point it out, I was accused of being jealous and petty during what should be a season of gratitude and family togetherness. Late that night, I found Jessica and Marcus talking privately in the kitchen, while the rest of the family watched holiday movies in the living room. They stood closer than necessary, their voices low and intimate, their body language suggesting a connection that went beyond casual conversation. When they noticed me in the doorway, both jumped apart with guilty expressions. Marcus quickly explained that Jessica had been asking advice about getting back into college, that she was considering a computer science program, and wanted his input about the coursework and career prospects. But as I stood there looking at them, seeing the flush in Jessica's cheeks and the nervous way Marcus avoided eye contact, I realized with crystal clarity what had been happening. My family was not just enabling Jessica's behavior. They were actively encouraging it. They were setting her up to replace me, believing she was the better choice for Marcus and the future they wanted for their family. January brought the confrontation I had been dreading, but somehow expecting. I decided to surprise Marcus with lunch at his apartment, something I had done countless times before without thinking twice. I used my key to let myself in, calling out his name as I entered with takeout from his favorite Thai restaurant. The silence that greeted me felt wrong immediately. Marcus's car was in the parking lot, and his work laptop sat open on the dining table, but he was nowhere to be seen. As I set down the food and looked around, I noticed things that made my stomach drop. Jessica's distinctive silver earrings sat on the coffee table. Her favorite lipstick, the bright red one I had seen her apply dozens of times, was on the bathroom counter next to Marcus's toothbrush. When I heard his key in the lock 20 minutes later, I was sitting on his couch holding Jessica's earrings, my mind reeling with the implications of what I had discovered. The door opened to reveal Marcus and Jessica together, carrying takeout bags for two, laughing about something until they spotted me sitting there. The guilty expressions on their faces told me everything I needed to know. Jessica's overnight bag hung from her shoulder, and she was wearing one of Marcus's sweaters over her dress from the night before. They froze in the doorway like teenagers caught sneaking out, their faces pale with shock and fear. "It is not what it looks like," Jessica said quickly, but her voice lacked conviction. The evidence was overwhelming, her personal belongings scattered throughout his apartment, their comfortable familiarity with each other, the way they had entered together, like they lived there together. Marcus closed the door slowly and took a deep breath. "Sophia, we need to talk," he said, his voice heavy with resignation. "I was going to tell you, but I wanted to wait until after the holidays. I did not want to ruin Christmas for everyone. The conversation that followed shattered what remained of my faith in both of them. Marcus admitted he had developed feelings for Jessica gradually over the past few months. Their time together during wedding planning had revealed a connection. He had not expected a compatibility that felt natural and effortless. Jessica cried as she explained she had never meant for this to happen, that she had fought her feelings until she could not deny them anymore. She loved him too, she sobbed, and love was not something you could control or schedule conveniently around other people's happiness. How long? I asked, though. Part of me did not want to know the answer. 2 months, Marcus said, but I suspected it had been longer. The signs had been there for months, hidden behind the legitimate excuse of wedding planning and family bonding. Marcus tried to explain his reasoning, how he had wanted to tell me gently after the holidays, how he had hoped to minimize the damage to our family relationships. Jessica nodded along, adding that I deserved someone who would appreciate me more fully, someone who would not be distracted by feelings for my sister. Their explanations felt like additional betrayals, as if the original deception was not enough. They wanted me to understand their perspective, to see their love as something beautiful rather than something built on lies and family manipulation. I called my parents immediately after leaving Marcus's apartment, expecting comfort and support, expecting them to be as shocked and outraged as I was. Instead, their response completed my devastation. "These things happen," my father said with a calmness that suggested he was not surprised. "You cannot force love, Sophia. If Marcus and Jessica have found something real together fighting, it will only make everyone miserable." My mother was even worse. "Maybe this is for the best," she said. "Jessica needs stability, and Marcus is a good man. You are strong enough to handle this and move on." A family meeting was called at my parents' house the next evening, but it quickly became clear this was not about supporting me through a crisis. It was an intervention designed to help Jessica and Marcus navigate their new relationship with minimal family disruption. "She is pregnant," my mother announced matter-of-factly, as if this explained everything and justified anything. "Marcus is doing the right thing by taking responsibility." I stared at my family in disbelief, realizing that not only had they known about the affair, they had been orchestrating it. The pregnancy was presented as proof that Jessica and Marcus belonged together, that their relationship had a divine purpose that superseded my claims or my pain. "You all planned this, did not you?" I asked, looking around the table at their guilty faces. "You decided Jessica needed Marcus more than I did, and you all worked together to make it happen." None of them denied it. Instead, they focused on damage control and future planning. I needed to be mature about the situation, they explained. Jessica needed family support during her pregnancy, not additional stress from my drama and resentment. The extended family was already being contacted and prepared for the transition. Everyone agreed the baby's welfare came first, that Jessica and Marcus needed to focus on building their future together without interference from me. Cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents were all briefed on the new situation and encouraged to support the new couple. Wedding vendors were contacted, and everything was canceled. I returned to my apartment to find Marcus had already moved out, taking not just his belongings, but also items we had bought together for our shared future. The engagement ring sat on the kitchen counter with a note explaining he thought it would be easier this way. The final blow came when Jessica posted her engagement announcement on social media, featuring the same botanical garden venue Marcus and I had chosen for our wedding. They were planning to marry in June on the exact date that was supposed to be mine. Moving to Seattle with my savings felt like fleeing to another country. I needed distance from the wreckage of my old life space to rebuild without constant reminders of what I had lost. I rented a studio apartment in Capitol Hill and threw myself into starting over with the same determination that had carried me through college and my early career. The job hunt was brutal but focused. I applied exclusively to tech companies, drawn by their reputation for merit-based advancement and innovation. After dozens of interviews and rejections, I landed a junior marketing role at a small startup developing project management software. The salary was modest, but the company offered equity and opportunities to learn skills I had never accessed in traditional marketing roles. I worked 18-hour days without complaint, treating my job like a graduate school program in technology and business. I learned basic coding to better understand our product, networked aggressively at industry events, and volunteered for every challenging project my colleagues wanted to avoid. While they went to happy hours and weekend brunches, I studied case studies and attended online courses. The startup culture suited my new mindset perfectly. Success was measured by results. Rather than politics, innovation was valued over tradition, and hard work was rewarded with real opportunities rather than empty promises. Within 6 months, I was promoted to marketing manager with a team of 3 people reporting to me and a significant salary increase. Therapy became another crucial investment in my reconstruction. My therapist helped me process the trauma of family betrayal without falling into the trap of victimhood or bitterness. We worked on building confidence, setting boundaries, and recognizing red flags in relationships. Most importantly, I learned to trust my own judgment again and to value my own needs as much as I had always valued others. The second year brought exponential growth in both my career and my personal confidence. I launched my own digital marketing consultancy as a side business, focusing on helping tech startups develop their brand messaging and customer acquisition strategies. My corporate experience and technical knowledge gave me credibility with clients who had been burned by traditional marketing agencies that did not understand their industry. Major contracts followed quickly as satisfied clients referred me to their networks. Within 12 months, my consultancy revenue reached 6 figures, allowing me to leave my corporate job and focus entirely on building my own business. I hired 2 employees, moved to a real office space, and began developing proprietary tools and processes that set us apart from competitors. The third year brought the breakthrough that changed everything. I partnered with a talented developer named Alex Rodriguez to create a productivity app that integrated seamlessly with existing business software. Our app solved real problems for busy professionals, offering intuitive features that competing products had overlooked. The app launched quietly, but gained traction through word of mouth and strategic partnerships with business influencers. Within 6 months, we had 50,000 active users and were featured in productivity blogs and business podcasts. A major tech company noticed our growth and approached us about acquisition. The acquisition negotiations were surreal, like something from a movie rather than my actual life. The final offer was $2.5 million for our app and our team, with both Alex and me staying on as directors in the acquiring company. I accepted immediately, knowing this was my chance to build long-term wealth and security. Media attention followed the acquisition. Forbes featured me in their 30 Under 30 list for marketing and advertising. Local Seattle television stations interviewed me about entrepreneurship and the tech industry. I spoke at conferences about overcoming adversity and building businesses that solve real problems. Meanwhile, through mutual friends and social media updates, I learned that life had taken a very different turn for my former family. Marcus had been laid off during a tech industry downturn, struggling to find new employment as companies tightened their hiring. His skills were solid but not exceptional, and the job market was brutally competitive. Jessica's second pregnancy had been complicated, requiring expensive medical care that strained their finances even before Marcus lost his income. Their third baby was born prematurely, resulting in an extended NICU stay that insurance only partially covered. The medical bills were overwhelming, and Marcus's unemployment benefits were insufficient to cover their mortgage and basic expenses. My parents were struggling as well. My father's auto shop was failing as customers delayed repairs and postponed vehicle maintenance during economic uncertainty. My mother's hours at the hospital were reduced due to budget cuts, and her own health issues were creating additional medical expenses for their household. The house where I grew up was facing foreclosure. Both of my parents' cars had been repossessed, leaving them dependent on public transportation and the kindness of neighbors. The perfect life they had orchestrated for Jessica was crumbling under the weight of financial reality and poor planning. The phone call came on a Tuesday evening while I was reviewing contracts for a new business venture. My mother's voice was tearful and desperate as she explained their financial situation and begged me to help them save the family home. "We made mistakes," she admitted, her voice breaking. "But family is family, Sophia. We raised you and loved you, and that has to count for something." My father's call came the next day, his pride clearly shattered, but his desperation stronger. "Jessica's kids need help," he said. "They are your nieces and nephews, innocent children who do not deserve to suffer because of adult problems." Marcus sent a text message that I read several times before responding. "I know I have no right to ask this," he wrote, "but could you help us for the children's sake? I will work any job, pay back every cent, whatever it takes." Jessica's message came through Instagram, accompanied by photos of her 3 young children. "I am sorry for everything that happened," she wrote. "I know we hurt you terribly, but please help us. I will do anything to make it right." I stared at my phone for a long time, thinking about the family that had chosen Jessica over me, that had prioritized her needs over my pain, that had orchestrated the destruction of my engagement for her benefit. I thought about the 3 years I had spent rebuilding my life without their support, creating success through my own determination and resilience. Finally, I typed my response. "You taught me that family helps family, but you also taught me that I am not your family. I learned both lessons well." Instead of giving them money, I established a scholarship fund for single mothers, returning to education, donating a significant portion of my wealth to help women build independent, sustainable futures. The fund was named in honor of my grandmother, the only family member who had ever truly supported my dreams and ambitions. The greatest revenge, I realized, was not in making them suffer, but in living well without bitterness consuming my heart. I had built an empire from their rejection, created wealth from their betrayal, found peace in my independence. They had given me the greatest gift imaginable, the motivation to become everything they never believed I could be. Sometimes the family you choose treats you better than the one you are born into. My real family consists of people who celebrate my successes, support my dreams, and value my happiness as much as their own. I built an empire from their rejection, and that is a gift I never expected. Have you ever had to choose between forgiveness and self-respect when family betrayed you? Let me know in the comments below what you think you would have done in my situation. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that success is the best response to betrayal. Subscribe for more stories about overcoming adversity and building the life you deserve despite the people who doubt you. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember that sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful new beginnings.